Welcome, everybody, to High Plains History. I'm joined by my very good friend, Jason Crespin from the Amarillo Little Theater. So, Jason, we want to jump in to the Amarillo Little Theater. I think some people may not know, you guys are almost 100 years old.
Yeah, I mean, we look good for almost 100. I mean, we're 98 right now, after a couple Botox and maybe, some filler. We're looking great for 98.
So, tell me a little bit about how the Amarillo Little Theater kind of got started here.
Yeah, so 1927, we are so lucky that those amazing individuals who are a part of our Amarillo community, a couple years before that, they started the symphony. Amarillo Symphony just turned 100, so we like to say we're like the little sister of the symphony. But how great that so many people thought let's create some more arts entities in Amarillo in the early 1920s and created the Amarillo Little Theater. Oma Link Rowley, she was our first executive director and kind of led the force on having the Amarillo Little Theater. Back in that time period, too, there was a kind of a wave of little theaters, if you will, throughout the nation through the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So you'll see, Albuquerque Little Theater, or you see tons of towns that have their name plus the word Little Theater after it. Luckily, we over the course of those years, the donors and the supporters of the theater really kept up the theater in those early years. In 1957, that's when property was given to the theater, and in the Wolfland location. So where the main stage is right now at 2019 Civic Circle, that was given to the theater in 1957, or excuse me, right before that. Basically, in 1957 is when they opened the building that we know as the main stage, and that's where the theater just kept running along. In 2002, we acquired the space over by at 2751 Civic Circle, which we call the Adventure Space. And we've had both those stages ever since.
So, where did ALT perform before you guys got the location in the 50s?
Yeah, great question. I believe it was in just like the town hall and like the civic kind of buildings or offices and things like that they had. I'd have to go back and look fully on where those first performances were located. I know that we have, I should have brought a photo. We have a photo of, or excuse me, we have a program of the very first show that was done for the Little Theater. It was a production on December 12th, in 1927, called Three Live Ghosts. And so it's kind of cool that the theater was given that on the 75th anniversary, I believe, of ALT. Somebody had that and framed it, and it hangs in our lobby. And so I think a lot of different places, but it's cool to see how that has evolved, especially now since 1957, when we had our own space to perform shows at.
What was that show about?
I've never read it. I haven't read it yet, so I have no clue. No clue. We are trying to track down a script of that to perform, of course, on our 100th year.
That would be
Yeah.
interesting. That'd be
I
fun.
think it probably had something to do with three ghosts that wreaked havoc. Probably. Who knows? Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, from that building that you guys have from the 50s now, has anything changed? Is it kind of still the same? Is it still structurally the same?
Yeah, great question. So really, the theater, the main theater is the same, with that front lobby, where we have our we call it the Turk lobby, the big lobby that has the two bathrooms that kind of is adjacent to the concession area. That was not there. That was like a concrete patio. The dance studios that we have were not there. That's just let out to the alley. Kind of where we have our shop area, before there were double doors there, and that actually was like a green room and had a lot of the props and costumes. So a lot has evolved. I mean, I've been involved at ALT since 1999, and I've seen, of course, changes, but there were a handful of changes done beforehand. There used to be a spiral staircase that led up to the light booth. It's so funny because we kept that spiral staircase. We use it, I feel like every time we do a production of Cabaret, we pull out that a spiral staircase. But yeah, so the exterior wall used to be right where the house left sits. That wall right there used to lead up right outside, until the late 90s. Through honestly, a lot of people thought it was when Oprah Winfrey came to do her show when she was getting sued by the cattle industry here in Amarillo. She did her televised show from the Amarillo Little Theater. So a lot of people thought, the theater must have gotten all this money from that. No, I mean, they did rent out the theater, of course, but But we always like to say what really got those additional that lobby and those extra dance studios was our production of Always Patsy Cline, which is our most historic show that we've ever done at ALT. It was performed over 100 times in its course. It toured. It brought in so much revenue for the little theater. Anytime I remember Alan Shankles, who was my boss, the executive director and managing director for ALT for 38 years. I remember anytime that the theater was in trouble, they just bring in Always Patsy Cline and perform it for a weekend or two, and it would bring in an extra $40,000 and kind of save the theater. And so because of Patsy Cline really is and Michael and Cindy Turk, who helped donate enough funds for us to pay off the mortgage of those basically of that lobby. It's why we have that, and literally donors. Maureen, I'm gonna get her. It's not Poole. Was it Maureen Poole? I would have to fact check myself. I know her first name is Maureen. Donated enough money for us to purchase, for example, the parking lot. That north side parking lot is owned by ALT. When the Women's Federated Club at 2001 Civic Circle, when they were closing their doors, they sold the building to the theater. So we actually own that building as well. We rented it out for several years and held classes out of there, but it's just run down. And so our plans are to tear down that building and build a new kind of performance space there that would be in addition to what we have at the main stage, an adventure space. So we have big plans coming up. Those are, in fact, plans that Alan kind of drew up himself. That we're hoping to bring enough money and tear down a building and start the next 100 years off with another theater.
Yeah, and we can't talk about Amarillo Theater without talking about Alan Shankles.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the importance of Alan Shankles to Amarillo Theater.
Yeah. I mean, without Alan Shankles, ALT would have closed its doors. I mean, I remember when he started, I believe in '83. The theater was really going down. Like it was about to shut its doors, basically. Luckily, a group of people that were part of the board and community members kind of took care of the theater for a year or two. They basically kind of owned the theater, if you will. They paid all the bills and made sure to get it on its feet while Alan was the new leader of the theater. And what he did was he really kind of stripped down what was excess that we did not need anymore and just concentrated on great theater and producing some good quality theater that then brought in the donors, that then brought in the patrons, the audiences. Through his leadership, really got us through those times when the theater was struggling. I mean, I remember Alan talking about how he would have to get board approval to buy light bulbs, like a simple light bulb, because there was not enough money in the budget. Oh my gosh, if I had to go to my board every time I had to buy a light bulb, oh my gosh, I would cry. So to where he got it to, and I really will say also, I think his leadership in establishing, I mean, all throughout the years, there's always been some type of children's theater in some capacity. But in 1992, he, along with other instructors, really started what's now the Amarillo Little Theater Academy. And because of that, I really feel like that was a turning point for the theater because it was investing in the future of the theater. I'm a product of the academy. A lot of our instructors are products of the academy. Some of our staff members were either academy students or parents of the academy. I think giving back and investing in that youth, there's a saying that Alan always said, and it was that we are standing on or we're basking in the shade of trees that were planted before us, and that's the truth. I mean, he planted seeds in the '90s that we're now, these trees are fully grown and we're basking in the shade of that. I remind our cast and our employees and our volunteers, we're planting seeds right now that in 20 plus years, people hopefully will be enjoying what we worked really hard at. So we were really blessed that Alan he was interesting because he was such a businessman who could control the budget and figure out the funding that we needed and the finances, but yet had this amazing artistic side to him that he could direct these shows. And I think that's really what helped the theater grow. Luckily, when things started happening with the adventure space, that was a great add-on to the theater to where we could perform shows that Alan was really wanting to perform that he knew wouldn't sell well on the main stage. This show can't sell 500 seats a night, but could sell 150 seats a night. But maybe it was more quality theater, and he could be more creative with those shows. So I think all of those little steps kind of helped create, the formation of the academy, the addition of the adventure space. just kept bringing on more and more audiences and people investing in the theater. Um, we always say our saying is ALT, the place to be. And I really do think, personally, I think without the Amarillo Little Theater, I probably wouldn't have stayed in Amarillo. Not that I don't love Amarillo, but the opportunities for me weren't as prominent or big other than ALT. And so I think a lot of times too our amazing talent. We have so much amazing talent in this city. And people always ask, like, why aren't you in Dallas, or why aren't you in Oklahoma City, or why aren't you other, bigger venues? And it's like, well, we love Amarillo, and we still get to do what we love at the Amarillo Little Theater. They still get to kind of tap into their creative juices and their hobby of performing. So they can be the banker or a teacher or the doctor during the day, but yet to still get to perform at night. I think that's really unique, and that really is the heart behind what ALT is.
Yeah, and I've of course seen shows on the main
Yeah.
stage at the Adventure Space. I've participated in the
Yeah.
summer classes.
Yeah.
I've done some academy classes. So
Yeah.
I've been involved with ALT. I again, that's how I got to know you.
Yeah.
And I've known you for a while now.
True.
So talk to me a little bit about the importance of, just like you said, with the academy, of having Harrison. I've known Harrison
Yeah.
for a long time. Now he is, of course, the academy director.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about having that academy, being able to, like you said, be able to have these kids getting to know theater maybe from a young age, and now they're doing things, these shows, and just growing their love of theater.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to invest in these kids from an early age. I mean, the youngest kids can take in the academy is 3 years old, and unlike elementary school or middle school or high school, we can have a kid involved in our theater for 13 years, 15 years. I had a kid who started with us in kindergarten and graduated. He was, in the academy for 13 years and was my longest kid that I taught for that full. I mean, teachers don't really get to say they taught a kid for, that long. And so that's what's, I think, really cool about the academy, is because we don't just see them graduate, from 5th grade into middle school, and we don't get to see them again, or middle school to high school, we don't get to see them again. Even when they graduate high school, we still get to see them. They may pursue the arts in college, or they might, try to go to New York or Chicago and pursue an acting career. But that's not what we're saying that we want them to do. We want them just to grow up to learn and love and appreciate the arts, and hopefully support the arts, whether that be if they're going to be a performer, if they're going to be a business owner, that they can then be a good ambassador for the arts wherever they live. If they could be a upcoming board member. It's crazy. Right now on our ALT board, I have past academy students that I taught, and it's like full circle. I'm like, you're my boss. This is crazy. And so that's what I love about the theater is not only that we can invest in our youth and give them something positive to do in the community and feel welcome. It doesn't matter who, what, where, when, what pronoun they use, what color their hair is, what piercing that they have, whatever. They're welcome in our doors, and they are going to feel just as equal as everyone else that's there. That's what I loved when I was in the academy, that it was such a positive environment for all of us to be a part of, and hopefully have kept that positive environment as I was the academy director, and of course now that Harrison is leading the academy so well. My hope is that by us investing in our youth, that they'll just continue to be amazing human beings, and that they'll continue to support the arts wherever they may be. The other thing I think that works so well for the theater is that we might have a show, and in that show we might have a doctor who's very well known in the community. We might have a mom that is raising 3 kids on her own. We have a kid that's in 8th grade that makes C's and B's in school. We have a pharmacist. We have a dancer. We have all these different walks of life, and they're all treated equal. They all have to come in. They all have to sign in. They all have to do their mic check. They have to check their props. They have to be there for each other. They have to make sure to shine the light on one another. They have to make sure to hit the cues. All of them are equally as important, or else the show can't happen. And I think it's just an even playing field where, we gather 15 minutes before every show, what we call magic circle. It's like a huddle in football. And, we put our right hand over our left hand, and we stand there and we get our notes from our directors. And we remind everyone that theater is magic. There's magic in the theater, and truly blessed are those who are able to share their talents with others. We say it every single show. And because we're in a circle, if one person steps out of that circle's broken, and reminds us all that we are all equal, we're all important. So it doesn't matter what's numbers in your checking account, what number is your age. It doesn't matter any of those things, because we all have to come together and do something to make the show happen. And where else can you do that? Where else can you, I mean, even if you go play, recreational sports, you don't have an 8-year-old standing next to a 60-year-old, and both of them have to do their job. That's what I think I love most about theater is there's not an end date for you. You know what I mean? Sometimes with sports or other things, when you get injured or you're too old and you cannot, play sports, or you're aged out of things. In theater, there's always roles for all ages and all experiences and all. I mean, we also have an amazing volunteer group. Oh my gosh, the amount of volunteers that help build the sets and paint the sets and hand out programs and make sure concessions are happening, and greeting all of our volunteers, and that's, again, it's just a place where everyone is welcome. Everyone's part of the family, and sure, we have family drama. What family doesn't? But I think that's what's just so special about ALT is everyone is welcome. Everyone can be there and feel like they're giving something positive back to the community. The show that we just wrapped up called The Cottage, we got more compliments about people going, I needed this. I just needed 2 hours of escape with everything going on in the world, with the news and everything after the holidays, all of that. They loved the show so much because they could just walk in, forget about their troubles for 2 hours, laugh with other people, experience laughter with other people, and just reminded, oh gosh, just being a human is okay in the world. Like, it's for this moment right here, right now, it's okay to laugh and forget about everything outside of the world or outside of these doors. And so, I mean, as storytellers, that's our job, as entertainers, as artists. We also want to educate people. We do shows that make sure people maybe are not known about, in the sense that it might be a subject that they don't know, or group of people that they don't know about. So we try to educate people with shows. We try to enlighten them, entertain them. We try to tell diverse stories and really kind of challenge that in our. I mean, we could just do one type of show the whole time and be fine, but I think people get tired of us and be like, well, what about me? Why can't I see me up on that stage? And so, I'm really proud that we've done shows like Ragtime and Dreamgirls, and these shows that highlight different groups of people in our community, and they're phenomenal. These voices that we have in our community, it's just insane to think about. And so, I'm really lucky that I get to sit, front row for the rehearsals and just kind of help guide them and make sure they don't bump into the furniture, and we're good to go.
Yeah, Andy was talking about The Cottage when he went and saw it. He said it was like one of his favorite shows he had ever seen at
Yeah.
ALT. So, but going back to like the volunteers and stuff like that, I know that when you guys put out stuff on like Facebook, and
Yeah.
you've put out stuff on Facebook like, we're needing a tub that's this size
Yeah.
and looks like this, and people
Exactly.
are like, I got one, or I bet you I can go find it.
Exactly.
It's stuff like that where people are willing to help you guys.
Completely. I mean, even this coming weekend, we're putting on our very first car show at ALT to coincide with Jersey Boys. We've never done a car show before. We asked a couple people who have done some before. They're like, just put it out there. People will come. Just tell them to show up 30 minutes beforehand and get out of their way. I was like, great. That's what we're going to do. And we literally put out one flyer, and the amount of people that have are so excited about us having this car show. And it's like, awesome. We're hoping to get new people to find out who we are. That's the thing I always tell people. If we can just get people to walk through our doors and see who we are, we got them. Because they're going to be amazed by what talent we have on stage. We always hear, I had no clue this was here. I had no clue that this was what was going on. I always heard about ALT, but I didn't know what it was. It's like, just give us a chance. Just give us a chance. I promise you're going to be amazed. Not only that, we have this amazing community theater that is the oldest continuously running theater in our nation that has never closed its doors, that you're going to see the quality of work that we put on, including our academy. I will back up our academy any day of the week for the price that they're paying. Our quality of shows are matched with like Dallas, Oklahoma City, these bigger markets that are nearby that are paying double. They're paying $60, $70 a ticket to go see a show. and our most expensive ticket is $30 for a musical on a Friday or Saturday night. Other people, when they come to our theater, they go, how are you making it work that your tickets are so low, your season ticket packages are affordable, but yet your quality of work is so high? And I have to say, it's kind of Alan Schenkel's kind of guide to putting on a show. You know, we're so blessed that we have our donors, we have our season ticket holders, that we've managed our theater correctly. I know how to budget a show and how to get the most out of out of a dollar, if you will, for our shows. We have partnerships. We know we need to spend this money on rentals here, so let's package it with a show later on that's going to be a little less expensive for us to produce. But really, our amazing donors are really what has kept our tickets down, our prices down to make it affordable for our whole community. And then, you know, we've partnered with our local libraries where we say we have a checkout ALT library program where people can go with their library card and literally check out tickets to a show for free. Like, who does that anymore? Our students are always two for the price of one. Our first performance of every single show, no matter who you are, we have 2-for-1 prices for that show. We have senior citizen discounts, group rates, the whole 9 yards. So, like, we just want to make it affordable for people to come experience live theater. I think it's an important thing to still, especially with, you know, streaming with Netflix and how you can watch so much from your home, and how kids aren't even going outside anymore, that they're just like literally playing games, talking to people on their games and all the things. It's like, what happened to just like actual human experiences and like human connection? I think about how even now, like, if I have a problem on Amazon, I don't call Amazon. I like type into this like chat bot thing, and I don't even talk to anyone. Like, what happened to just calling somebody on the phone? And that's the other thing. This is the dumbest thing, but I'm so proud that we still have 2 people working in our box office that literally you can call 806-355-9991 and talk to a person saying, I would like to get tickets, and they'll set the tickets up for you. There's no press 1 now for this or press 2 for this. Or, I mean, it's so funny to think about when I try to get tickets for a theater anywhere I go. I have to always do it online. I always have questions if things in that, and I'm just so proud that we still have 2 people that you can call and talk to that know what's happening in our community, that know if you're having, oh my gosh, I saw on Facebook that so and so got married in your family, congratulations. So there's still that hometown feeling of community, and I think that's so important. We strive about those little things, those little details, and I think that's what kind of sets us apart as well.
Yeah. So I want to ask you. So in the 98 years that you guys have been doing this, obviously you got to have repeat shows.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna be doing the different shows for 98 years. So what is the show that you guys have done probably the most at ALT, if you had to guess?
I mean, for sure, Patsy Cline was the show
Right.
that was produced the most. Other than that, I know for a fact, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat has been done at least 3 times. Um, Gosh, what other shows have been done? I mean, Steel Magnolias has been done 3 times. I know at least. Um, I mean, I'm sure some, you know, hits like Death of a Salesman, some classics like that were produced uh, uh, for years at our theater. Shows that I've done repeated wise were Best Little House in Texas, Chicago, Cabaret, Smokey Joe's Cafe. In the Academy, we've done Honk 3 times. We've done Seussical multiple times. So there are some shows that are definitely more popular than others that have come back around. I could see us, we haven't really fully voted on or talked about it, but I wouldn't be surprised in our 100th year if we see a handful of shows that have been successful for the theater making their comeback for their 100th year. So we can celebrate like the best of the best of shows for what got us to where we are at 100 years old. There are personal shows that I wish we would bring back just because I would love to see us do them now with the resources that we have, the talent that we have. You know, Beehive was a great kind of 60s show that featured the music of these girl groups of the 60s. I think that would be a fun show for us to do again, and kind of do it in a way that's more correct when it comes to casting. Things like that. I hope that we get to kind of get a second chance for.
Is there any shows that you guys get requested like all the time? Like, we want you guys to do this show or this show.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there's a lot of things with like when it comes to rights
Right.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Is there a lot of shows like that?
The amount of times I've heard, why don't you do Hamilton? Or, gosh, you guys should do Wicked. Have you ever thought about doing Wicked? And it's like, listen, I would love to do those shows. The rights are not available. That's what's interesting where people don't quite understand is, a show usually opens on Broadway, has this big run on Broadway, will end on Broadway, and then for about 5-6 years will tour. And so once the shows tour, then about a year after that is when the rights start becoming available. So I can usually see a wave. We've been blessed to be offered early offers to shows before they're offered to the general public or general theaters. We're on a list that we get these early offers. And so, we were the very first community theater to do Beautiful, the Carole King musical. We are the third community theater that got the rights to Waitress, or to perform Waitress. I think we got the rights first, but we put it off until the fall, and so we weren't until the third. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, we had early rights to. Elf the musical. So that's been really fun to see the shows that we've been given early offers to. I could definitely see us, though, there's some shows like big shows like Hamilton and Wicked and those things, when they become available, I wouldn't be surprised if we would be one of the first that get those offers. It's crazy. Mamma Mia ran on Broadway for so long, and then it closed its doors and then had the tour. And again, we were offered, early rights to that. And we did that, 4 or 5 years ago. So it's always kind of see a trend. We come from away. That show just was given to us, and we'll be opening our 99th season with that, which is a great musical. It's kind of a 9/11 musical, if you will. It's about this great community that kind of helps take on 28 planes of people during the 9/11 catastrophe, and we easily could have done it this season because we had the rights for it, but we thought, man, wouldn't it be cool to open our 99th season and honor the 25th anniversary of 9/11 with Come From Away. So that's what we're doing with that. I will say I can't tell you what it is, but we did get offered an early offer for a show for our 100th year that we are going to go ahead and move forward with to open our 100th year at the main stage that season with. So super excited that we already have that one kind of checked off our list. But I mean, we've also seen success. It's crazy. Steel Magnolias was the show to beat for quite some time when it came to plays. And then, 3 years ago, Clue broke box office records like no other. We added all these shows. We added an 11 o'clock show. We added I think in a 24-hour period of time, they performed the show like 4 times. My poor cast, we had them running all over. But it broke box office records. Grease, for us, Grease was the first show on our main stage season that had a 3-week run that sold out all of the shows before we even opened. Like, all the shows were sold out before we opened. We ended up adding shows, which was so cool. I got to be Kaneki in that one, so I felt really, really cool. And then, so that was kind of the show to beat. Before that, Buddy Holly was the show to beat as far as box office ticket sales. Then Shrek came along. It broke that record. And then Elf came along when I produced Elf a couple years back. That broke that record. And then now we can finally say this season, Frozen. Frozen broke all box office records. We did really well this year with Frozen. And so that's always really fun, too, to kind of like see a show that, Elf was the show to beat, and then this year Frozen beat it. So I was like, yeah, I could beat my own record. And it felt good to know that we're progressing in the right direction when it comes to theater like that and to sell shows. So we'll see what comes back around. But there's so many shows that were big hits for us that would be fun to kind of revisit and put on. Maybe put a different twist on. But I think it would be a lot of fun to bring those shows back.
Now, is there shows that you guys wouldn't do because maybe it's too technical, or maybe because of maybe some of the stuff inside the show? Maybe like, I don't know, the first one that comes to my mind, just because I'm a fan of the character is
Sure, yeah.
Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, because
Yeah.
obviously
Oh,
like
the
all this
set is huge. Oh my
this
gosh.
stuff.
I saw that show in New York, and literally the set was like a pop-up book. Like the things, the set just turned like on a page and the set came up. It was amazing. It was insane. Yeah, for sure, probably that wouldn't be on our list just because the technical aspects are so hard. I don't see us doing Cats anytime soon. More so just because the technical dancing in that show is you got to have the dancers for it. Although I will say I saw a production at Casa Manana that did Cats, and they set it in the Fort Worth stockyards. So it had this kind of country western theme to it. And at first I was like, that's not going to work. It totally worked. I bought into it. It was great. They did such a good job. Um, there are a handful of shows that come across our desk that people would love for us to do, and it's like, man, if we had, you know, $500,000 to revamp our theater, to create a fly system that we could fly in some more set pieces, or if we could have a huge chandelier that goes from the back of the theater that crashes onto our stage. Oh my gosh, of course. How awesome would that be? Yeah, so there are a handful of shows that from a technical aspect just are too big for us to produce well, unless we have a completely different concept. You know, if we strip down the set and we create this whole other world, then maybe we could do those shows. There's also other elements, you know, when it comes to shows. We're probably not going to do King and I anytime soon because we have not built up the talent pool of Asian Americans at the Amarillo Little Theater. I think a lot of the times when we didn't have the correct actors for roles, the theater would still just put them on in the best way or form or fashion. And we're way past that now, where it's like, no, we're going to make sure that we cast these shows correctly. And so there's a handful of shows that are amazing shows that we probably won't put on our list until we know that we've built up these talent pools. And we know the only way of doing that is putting on more diverse shows. We wouldn't have been able to do Dreamgirls had we not been able to do Beautiful, the Carole King musical, or other shows in the past. Alan championed, you know, Ain't Misbehaving and Crowns and amazing shows like that. So we know that we have still work to do. But even in our queer community, I produced and directed a show called Boys in the Band, where it was the first time the entire cast and production team were all a part of the queer community in some capacity. That had never happened before, and I was so proud of that production. It was so good.
It's a fantastic show.
Right. I was just, it was just something that I think, again, our theater could be proud of and say, look, we had a handful of people ask me, well, Jason, why is that so important? Why? And I said, because these actors are, a lot of the time we get told, no, you can't play Prince Charming because you're too queer, you're too gay, you got to straighten up for this role. And it's like we were tired of saying, hey, you have to change for these roles. But when it's these roles that's us, we want to play these roles because guess what? We got passed on so many other roles for so long. And it was important for us to say, hey, these roles are for you. Like let's cast this correctly. And we got such positive from not only the talent, but from audience members that came and saw it. And so I'm hopeful that we can continue to do that when it comes into casting, especially specific roles like that have something to do with the plot point, that have something to do with the narrative of the story that we're trying to tell.
And I know that there's one of my favorite musical that I love, that is one of my it is my favorite musical, is Company.
Yes, I love Company as well.
So
yes.
Company, there's two different times they've done it. The original, which was, and then they gender swapped it, and they did it. So that's something like you could also do with certain shows too, where
completely. In fact, I would love to do that version of Company with the female Bobby. I luckily saw that in New York as well and was blown away by that. Anytime that we can do something that just reinvents the show and hopefully brings in new audiences, why not? Let's tell these stories. You know, I've seen shows where they've had, Alan Shankles, for example. I played Bert in Mary Poppins. I'm pretty sure Bert wasn't Hispanic. You know what I mean? But I had my little Cockney accent and was up there doing my thing and tapped away. And so a lot of the times it's and unless it's specific to the production that it says you have to have this. For example, a great example is the musical Cinderella. There have been numerous theaters that have hoped to do this, but in the rights to the show, you cannot have men play the stepsisters. How hilarious would that be to have these men play these ugly stepsisters, all that good stuff, right? But when I did my production of Into the Woods with the Academy at the Adventure Space, I only cast 10 actors. They doubled all the roles. For me, the two princes then played the stepsisters, and it was hilarious. It worked so well because I could. The rights didn't say you couldn't do that. So anytime we can kind of reinvent things like that, I think it just makes it more interesting and gets more people like you. Even like, I've seen Company. I don't need to see it. Wait, what? It's a female lead now? I want to see this.
Yeah, when I found that out, I was like, I like this.
Yeah,
I like what we're doing here.
I've seen productions. Well, I haven't seen the actual productions. I've just seen that they've cast it this way. For Little Shop of Horrors, for example, the plant, they've cast a female as the plant. And it has a whole different spin if the plant is also female rather than a male actor providing the voice. And so anytime we can do things like that, I think those things excite me and makes me want to do more theater and makes challenges me. I'm like, how can I be more creative? What can I do to do something different with a show?
That's what I love about theater.
Yeah.
Being just creative and looking at things from different angles. I love it.
Yeah. Well, even our recent production of Ragtime, I saw it in New York at City Center and thought, this is how Ragtime can be done. Got it. Came back to our show, and we had a 25-piece orchestra on our stage. We've never had that before. We concentrated on the music. We didn't have these huge set pieces come in. We concentrated on the music, the voices, and the acting. And it worked out so well for us. People were shocked and amazed how much they loved Ragtime, how poignant it was, how relevant it was right now. And we did it by just twisting it on its edge. It's like, I don't need a big house to roll in. Let me just roll in a ladder. And now we're at a house, a door frame and a ladder and a piano. Now we're in the house, and letting our audiences kind of use their imagination. And I was so proud of that production. And it came right off of Frozen, where we had huge set pieces and huge, costume pieces and puppets and magic and the whole 9 yards. And so that's what excites me, that in the same season we can do something like that and still provide great entertainment and great product to our patrons who come see shows at ALT.
So when can we anticipate you guys announcing your 99th season? Yeah,
so what we normally do is, right now we have a play selection committee that's part community members and part board members. They are, in fact, they will meet, I think, by February 9th and put together all of the shows that are finally in the running to be looked at for next season. And we'll have a ballot. So anyone who comes and sees Jersey Boys will get to vote on what shows they want to see the next season. We'll also have that survey, those ballots online as well, that people can vote on our social media. And then what we then do is kind of see what shows everyone wants to see. We kind of create a season that way. We apply for the rights because we've got to make sure we can do those shows. And then from there, usually at the end of April, in the past, we've at least announced it. We have a weekly show on Thursday called Thursdays at 3. Annika Spalding, our development director, hosts that. And we usually announce it there. We put it in our calendar for the next season. We roll it out for School of Rock. So School of Rock, our calendars will be there, and people will know what's happening in our 99th season.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah. We will say the one show that we have announced, we announced it this past summer, is Come From Away. That'll open up our main stage season in September of 2026.
It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So, Jason, I appreciate you talking to us
here
here
on
on
High Plains
History.
History.
And it's always a pleasure talking to you and catching up. We cannot wait to see what that season is going to be. And we obviously can't wait for the 100th. That's going to be very exciting.
Ooh, and it's going to be here before we know it. We're just like, we have so much to get done before then. We have a lot of projects that we want to kind of get ready for in order for us to be prepared for our 100th. So next year will be a lot of work, but then we'll hopefully get to just bask in the glory and honor our theater, our little theater that has stood time over, 100 years when you think about that. It's like, wow, this theater has been producing show after show after show for 100 seasons. That's pretty amazing.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Well, I think there's only one line left to say. Go see a show at Amarillo Theater.
Yes, come see it. Come see a show at ALT, the place to be.
Yep.
806-355-9991, AmarilloLittleTheater.org.
All right, Jason, thanks for joining us here on High Plains History.